jox la cawarte
defar sa yaram.
Banjul Breweries indi na jëndi ci leen.
Wol kola kola wol kola kola wol kola.
Wol kola nata, wol kola nata, wol kola nata le de. Wol kola nata, wol kola nata, wol kola nata le de. Wol kola nata, wol kola nata, wol kola nata le de. Wol kola nata, wol kola nata, wol kola nata le de.
Proudly brought to you by Banjul Breweries.
It's Geo Life music.
Ha, come again, you me JJ ma. Gida angaruga. Anytime me the major ma. Saga anhidaga. I like kaka wanda. Oh yeah. Me no know what is the matter. I know what is the matter. Girl, you driving me mad. I know what is the matter. You driving me mad, girl. You driving me mad. Yeah. What is the matter? 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 Yeah. Oh, yeah. Girl, if you waste my time. Yeah. No, girl, if you waste my time. Oh, yeah. No, girl, if you waste my time. Yeah. No, girl, if you waste my time.
Don't waste my time. I gave you my heart, now you wasting my time. Pak, Jo Manuja, Dola Halis, one laugh in Koi Ame. Segema, so community tenga sorry ma. Jomuja, ni pia kobi Jomuja. So my boogie, so my digge, do musaleka lo what you do sa jiko, we can future, oh yeah, we can future, oh yeah. Doing up with my job and stress. Bull my job and stress. Going up with my job and stress. Bull my job and stress.
What is the matter? Yeah? What is the matter? Yeah. What is the matter? Yeah. What is the matter? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Y'all love you waste my time. Yeah. No, y'all love you waste my time. Oh, yeah. No, y'all love you waste my time. Yeah, no, y'all love you waste my time.
Oh yeah, wanna sign this okay. That you got to manage your baby, no way. Been talking on the phone for the whole day. Just dropping that thing, man, it's okay. Night calls, FaceTime, she loves it. Can't get you know that I got this. Love for me, Booney, okay, be. Reborn, Muja, my baby. Na, we up at the top. La, roll up with the gang. Slow down, baby. Nah, don't waste my time. Ooh, yeah.
What is the matter? Yeah? What is the matter? Yeah. What is the matter? Yeah. What is the matter? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Y'all love you waste my time. Yeah. No, y'all love you waste my time. nakeba wo ke back in the bar nakeba wo ke back in the bar we ke back in the bar ba wo ke back in the bar nakeba 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 wo ke back in the ayembunya dimusole la de we ayembunya kunkele la de we ayembunya dimusole la de we ayembunya kunkele la de we nakeba wo ke back in the bar nakeba wo ke back in the bar we ke back in the bar we ke back in the bar nakeba wo ke back in the bar nakeba wo ke back in the bar bawo ke back in the bar bawo ke back in the I am bunya di musole la de we am bunya kunkele la de we am bunya di musole la de we am bunya kunkele la de we
Thank you all very much. Welcome back. We will continue our proceedings. And Counsel, you have the floor. Oh, sorry, the witness is not here yet. Yeah, can they bring him in place? Counsel, you may proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Witness, I trust you had a good break.
Yes.
You're reminded that you're still under oath.
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Witness, can we move on to the November 11th attacks? Did this incident meet you at Mile 2 prisons?
Yes.
Can you tell us what happened after this incident whilst you were at Mile 2 prisons?
They bring some detainees there after the November 11.
Can you remember what detainees were brought after November 11?
Yes, I can remember some of the detainees.
Can you please name those you can remember?
Can you excuse me? Let me see the list.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Yes, I can remember their names.
Can you please tell us what their names were?
Malik Nyang Kabare, Abdullah Jallo, Omar Ndiaye, Kairaba Kamara, Mafuji Sonko, Lamin Babay Mane, Sidi Manjang, Abdullah Dabo, Abu Trawale. Maybe it could be more, but I can remember these people's names.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chairman, just for the record, the witness is referring to his statement. He's reading from his statement.
Thank you very much.
Can you tell us in what condition you found these detainees? One by one, can you describe how you found them?
Some of them came with multiple injuries on their bodies. I can't remember all of them what type of injuries they have, the degree. What all of them came with injuries.
You have already mentioned the information you received about Captain Barrow. Was he part of the alleged November 11th attackers?
Yes, they say he's part of it.
Can you describe what other unusual injuries you saw on any other detainee?
Especially one Lamin Babay Mane. He normally complained of ear pain. There was a time it even started discharging. It was discharging ears. Then he told me that because we are from the same village, we attended the same primary school. Then he said to me, well, he normally called me Bob. He told me, Bob, I'm lucky, I would have been dead by now. I said, what's happened? He said, the problem that caused my eardrum was I was laying down, they laid down me and then they put a gun shot across my ear. So that gave him a problem of his eardrum.
You explained that there was a discharge coming from his ear. What kind of discharge was it?
He was having a whitish discharge there with some blood clots coming out.
You also mentioned that his eardrum was damaged. Is that correct?
Yes, at some point he cannot hear you very well. So what I did was, there is one doctor, audiologist, Dr. Sala at Polyclinic. There was one time he normally go and visit him to Polyclinic.
Is it correct, as you stated, that his eardrum was damaged as a result of the gunshot, the gun that was shot on the ground near his ears?
Yes, as he explained to me, that could have been the result of it.
Can you just tell us, you cannot remember what injuries apply to each detainee, but just explain generally the kind of injuries that these detainees suffered, please?
Generally, some come with, like as I said, multiple injuries, bruises. At some point, some of them, it was difficult to even to move. They have difficulty when walking. That I saw that from them.
Do you know what difficulties they had? Do you know why they had difficulties moving or walking?
They were brought like that. I don't know whether at the time of their arrest, that's the time they got that problem, I don't know. But they were, I never saw them being tortured in my presence, but they were brought like that.
So these injuries were sustained outside of the prison?
Yes.
Did any of the detainees perhaps inform you about the cause of their injuries?
As I said, this Baba Imane, he explained to me that, as I explained before, at the time of their arrest, he was laid down and then they fired a rifle across his ear. And he didn't stop that. He said, oh, they hit me a lot with a gun butt and so and so. Yes, he confessed that to me.
Perhaps is it the case then that the other detainees who had other injuries on them suffered the same fate? Were they beaten? Is that the reason why they were injured?
Maybe that's the reason, because I was not there at the time of their arrest.
Were the injuries consistent with beatings?
Yeah, to my understanding.
Okay. Can we move on now to the 1996 Farafenni detainees? Do you remember 1996 when these detainees came into Mile 2?
Yes, I remember 1996 when they came to Mile 2.
Do you remember the detainees that you treated?
I can remember some of them.
Can you please name those that you can remember?
Like Yaya Drame, Balo Kante, John Damfa, Esa Balde, Suleiman Sar. I cannot remember about this. I can remember Bamba Drame. Bamba Drame. I can remember these people fully.
Did you observe anything when they came to you?
Yes, when they came, I observed. They too came with the same thing, multiple injuries, sustained bruises. In fact, among them, one Suleiman Sar, he said he has a gunshot on one of his legs.
Can you explain can you tell us what other injuries the other detainees had?
The other detainees, they have multiple injuries, as I said, on all over their bodies.
Did they tell you how these injuries were sustained?
At that point in time, no.
Can you remember Yaya Drame? Can you tell us what injuries he sustained?
Yaya Drame, I can remember Yaya Drame too was vomiting blood and sticker like, as I mentioned, my despair in front of me. So he too was, he didn't go to hospital, but we kept him, can say in our headquarters, not this new headquarters, old headquarters. There's a conference room where we keep him there, and doctors will come and attend to him there, and nurses at that time.
So what happened to him afterwards?
Afterwards, Yaya died.
Can you tell us what was the cause of death?
Well, they are so thick, and he has difficulty in walking when, in fact, they have to support him when walking. He have to be supported, even coming to see the doctor. He's supported at that time.
Do you know what treatment was given by the doctors?
Doctors give him different medications, and in fact, drips was fixed to him there. They fixed drips, like normal saline waters and the like. They were monitoring him until his timely death come.
What happened after he died? What happened to him?
Well, the body was carried out to our hospital mortuary.
Do you know who carried the body out to the mortuary?
No, that's why I stopped. They carried the vehicle come and then they carried it to the mortuary.
Were they prison officers who carried him off to the mortuary?
Yes, I believe that time prison officers, they carried the body to mortuary.
Were there any other people, apart from those that you mentioned, that were detained in 1996 in connection to the Farafenni attacks?
Apart from the people I mentioned, I think those are the people I can remember.
Did you see Sana Sabali and Sadibu Haidara at that time?
In 1996?
Yes.
Yes, I saw Sana Sabali and Sadibu Haidara.
Can you tell us in what state they were when you saw them?
As I said, they were brought in by Edward Singate at that time in Mile 2 prison. That I was witnessing that. It was broad daylight, and they were put on handcuffs. They put on, as I said, T-shirt and then a camouflage trouser in one of our headquarters, but I didn't close to them. I saw them and then I passed. I went to my infirmary. So later on I heard that they were taken to number 1 confinement.
Did you have a chance to observe them physically and to see what their state was?
Yes, I was called, as I explained before, I was called that Sadi would say he's a known hypertensive patient, and Sanatu complained to me as a slight headache.
Apart from the complaints, did you observe anything about their physical status?
After some times, as I said, I always work in the morning from 8 to 4. So there was a time I reported on morning duties. They told me that they need to, even in fact, inmates told me, as I said, the convicts, they told me that there was a movement. So last night, they need your service there. From there, I was called. I went there, number one confinement. I entered, I saw, they opened them one at a time. I can remember Sana was open, and I saw multiple injuries on him. I try to apply my normal thing, dress them, and then apply my GV pain, give them painkillers. Sadibu do the same thing.
Can you Sadibu and Sana?
Sana, at one point, I saw him holding his waist, you know, and he bent his head down, you know. So he was telling me my sides are paining. Then I saw some injury on him, which I applied my dressing.
Can you tell us what particular injury you saw on him?
Like I said, these are multiple bruises.
Do you know how they sustained those injuries?
No, at that time, no.
Were you informed by the prisoners or your colleagues about what had happened to them?
Yes, I was informed by prisoners and my colleagues too, officers who were on night duties at that time.
What information did they give you?
They told me that the soldiers came in at night and then they went inside to confinement.
Did they tell you what the soldiers did when they went in?
No, they said they had some noise there, shouting, you know, because these are groups of soldiers. So they were like, there is one cell, we call it number 5, main yard. There is a cell called number 5 cell. It's very close to number 1 confinement. So those prisoners will tell me they had crying and shouting there.
Did Sana and Sadibu tell you what happened to them?
No, at that time, no.
Did you conclude from the information you received and from the injuries that you treated that they were tortured physically?
You know, at the beginning, they don't tell me. But when, at least, when it go up to few weeks, that's the time they start explaining to me. But at the beginning, at that moment, no.
So what did they later tell you?
Yes, they said they came for them and then do what they want to do to them, and then they left.
Can you please elaborate? What do you mean by they did what they want to do to them?
That's by torturing them.
Do you know the kind of torture that was inflicted on them?
No.
Is it your view as a prison medic that the injuries that they sustained were consistent with physical torture?
To me, at that time, I'm seeing it was a physical torture.
After the 1996 Farafenni attacks, did any other incident occur?
After Farafenni, Katong.
Can you please explain further about Katong?
Yes, at Katong attackers, I can remember I mentioned one Aliuba, LF Jame, and Lamin Jaju. I can remember these people on Katong attackers.
Do you remember when they were brought to Mile 2 prisons?
Exactly, I cannot remember the date either because it's a long time.
Can you remember the year?
Katong attacker. I don't know whether it's 96. I think in 96.
Okay. Was it near the Farafenni, the period when the Farafenni attacks happened? Was it near in dates?
Yes, it's close to Farafenni attack.
Can you please tell us how you found the Katong, suspected Katong attackers, in what state you found them physically?
They do the same thing. They were suffering from pain. I can remember In fact, LF was showing all his back. He even pulled out his shirt and then showed me how they were kicking him and then hit him there. But he has a difficult, at that time, it will have a difficult to sit down, and Aliu Ba, Aliu too.
Can you explain who they meant by they? Who inflicted those injuries on them?
I think by the time of their arrest.
Yes, who in particular arrested them and actually tortured them?
No, I don't know that.
Do you know if these were military personnel?
No, I can't say because they were brought there. I know by the military, but I don't know whether they are the actual people who tortured them or not.
You said you received information from them about how they sustained their injuries. What did they tell you?
They said they were, at the time of their arrest, they deal with them severely. As Aliu, he don't hide anything to me. Because with Aliu, I can say when he was admitted with me, we are almost friends. What brought us together is this football, like he's an Arsenal supporter, I'm a Manchester United supporter, so that gives us like we are a brothers to each other.
It is correct that you had previously treated Aliu Ba during the November 11th incident. This was the second time that he was actually being treated by you.
Yes.
Can you please elaborate on the information Aliu had given you about the Farafenye attacks, about the Katong attacks, as well as the November 11th incident?
Aliu, I can't say when he recovered, as I mentioned, we built friends. So he told me at first, in fact, I can even remember that. He said, put your hand, let me pray for you. I said, no, you have to pray for all of us, myself and Manga and the doctors coming. He said, but you go to them and then they come. I said, pray for all of us. Then after that prayer, he said, let him too pray, do his prayers, because the past 6 months, he was not having chance to pray. I said, Aliu, you are going to pray all these 6 months? He said, no, I'll pray. So after that, he said, let me tell you my own story. So this narration come there, that he was one time escaped from an execution ground here, and then later went to Casamas. So I asked him, why you come by? He said, here is my country. Do you know why I escaped? So if I'm coming back, it will not be easy when I'm coming back. This is what he told me.
Did he tell you from which execution ground he escaped from?
He said he escaped from Fajara Barracks at that time.
Can you tell us when this was?
I think this was around November 11, around that time.
It was part of the November 11th incident?
Yes, he said he was part of it.
Can you just give us further explanation on how this execution took place?
No, as he said, he escaped there at execution ground, that's all. I was even scared. I said, how did you manage to escape? He said, as a soldier, he don't want to see they fire him live. He said he must be fired on action. That's the time he started running. He said, but they were ascending. He said when he reached to a particular fence, I don't know which verse in Quran he read, then he happened to escape that way. That's what he explained to me.
What were they sending? You mentioned that they were sending. What were they sending?
He said they were firing at him.
What were they firing at him?
They were firing at him with guns, rifles.
In that case, were the guns being used to execute the people that were being executed, which he escaped from?
I don't understand.
You mentioned that he escaped from an execution.
As he explained to me.
Can you tell us who was doing the execution?
No, I don't know that. He never tell me.
Okay. Did he tell you that other people were executed and he managed to escape with his life?
No, he was just explaining his own story to me.
Yeah. What do you understand by execution?
That's to stand them and then fire them one at a time.
Is that what happened in his case?
According to his explanation, he escaped from an execution ground.
Do you know where this execution ground was?
He said he escaped at Fajara Barracks.
Do you remember Barrow's case?
No, I never see Barrow. I never saw Barrow.
Okay. Did he say anything about Barrow?
I think I have mentioned that earlier on.
Can you just please repeat what you said? We just want to clarify some points.
He said they were brought and they were taken away from mile 2.
Okay. And when they were brought, in what condition were they?
He said to me at that time, Barrow was even toothless at that time. They even support him to move.
Okay. Is it correct that this was part of the November 11th incident?
Yes, he said this was part of November 11 incident.
Sorry. Okay. Can you tell us why Barrow was being supported to move around?
He said because of pain.
Do you know why he was in pain?
No, actually, because he just narrated to me that he was brought there, then he was toothless, he was tired.
Did Aliu Ba offer any explanations as to Barrow's condition?
No, that's what he explained to me.
Do you know who brought Barrow into the prisons at that time?
No.
Do you know who took him away?
No.
All right. I think we're done there. We go to the institutional reforms. Okay. Mr. Witness, can we now move on to the next step? I mean, in the absence of anything extra you may have to say, we wanted to move on to your recommendations as a senior prisons officer, what recommendations you have for institutional reform. But before that, if there's anything you wish to say in relation to any of the incidents that we have mentioned or any other detainees that you treated at Mile 2, please feel free to do so.
No, I think I completed that. All what I can say, sorry, you said the recommendations.
Yes, please.
So far, what I can recommend is the Gambia Prison Service. We need to work on reformation, rehabilitation, and reintegration. If you look at it, we all saw the prison's condition right now. And people are there. These are human beings. That place, to me, even my tame animal, I don't pray for him to be there, much more a human being, as at now. So, and then to minimize the recidivism of prisoners coming to prison, going, prisoners need to be well reformed, rehabilitated, and well integrated to the society. They are from the society, and they are going back to the society. So right now, the inside training and the prison fellowship are real good partners to Gambia Prison Service. The inside training has graduated some inmates before, and none of them come back. They acquire skills, plumbing, electrical installation, IT. At this day, they never come back. And both local and international, we need partners to come to our aid. Many people have inspected prisons, coming, going, and we all know prison system. We neglect the police. People are sitting with their degrees, they don't want to join us. Because of, they will ask you, what is the salary? So how can we change the place? Prominent Gambians were there, they served sentence there. They never change the place. They only come and visit their cells and go. How can we change the place? We all know prisons, presidents come there and go. They said only uneducated people work at prisons. I feel we are marginalized, in fact. As a commissioner, you come to my office, I cannot give you a chair to sit. You go to other commissioners, you sit different. Are we not Gambians? If prison is not changed, some people, they will join commercial vehicles, they don't want to see prison. They will look other side, how you will lie. That's what they say. And human beings are there. So we cannot change. Change should come with action. So many people come and visit, make all side visits and the like. But I think we need to go on action. I can remember, they only have interest in prison when there is a jailbreak or escape. That's the time they come. And this is part of prison system. Some prison, if you look at it, some prison officers lose their life. And with all their security gadgets, they have arm, everything, but they attack them. For us, we are armless. We don't have anything, but we manage. Thank God we don't have those criminals in our prisons. There are well-conscious people there. They are only there to serve their sentence, and they comply our rules and regulations. But if there is any escape or riot, that's the time authorities will come there. But how to change the place? Today we struggle even to get firewood, for them to fetch firewood for their cook. No truck. Prisoners will go. We struggle. You can see them on highway sometimes, fetching for firewood. Officers are struggling to go to work with that poor wages. This is why we experience some of, we call it trafficking. Officers will give drugs to prisoners. Yeah, because if you look at his pay slip, and the prisoner promised him, if I have 3 or 4 wraps of cannabis, I'll give you 2,000. From the workplace, he's going to do that service. He'll be committed. Because some people say, I will not work in prison because you are only there to receive salary every month. I cannot do that. So, can we change the place? Can we change the place if you say only uneducated people should handle the place? Then it will remain like that. Definitely, automatically, it will remain like that. So what of people who are at least little bit getting some knowledge, we can capacitize them. If others don't want to join them, then let them assist all those who can do at least a little bit changes there. We heard of the security reform sector, all these things, but we need action. When that reform will end, we don't know. By papers, by media, you'll see it, but you have seen it now. They cover it, the whole world see it. So let's make action to change that, especially remind me. And I recommend we should get a prison we don't have proper, how do I call it? The separation of inmates, classification of prisoners. We don't have it in the Gambia. By looking at the prison sector, the remand, female wing, main yard are all within the Mile 2 setup. Look at how tight female wing is. You cannot do any exercise there. But when we have convict prison, we have remand, you have female, they are convict or remand separately, then we can come up with this reformation and rehabilitation process. Like the center, the facility that inside training is using to train prisoners for IT, electric installation, and the plumbing, that structure has been there for military when they were there. It's just after the new dispensation, they asked them to go back to barracks. That site is used now to train inmates there, to acquire skills. But the structure is not meant for that. Hadn't been, if the soldiers were not there, we will not have that structure. Inside training, where are they going to start? And these things should not be only at Mile 2 level. Gambia, we have only 3 established prisons. Mile 2, Joswang, Janyambure. Finish. And I recommend we should get some satellite prisons, like the whole region. From LRR, they will remind inmates to Janyambure. From NBR, they will remind prisoners to Janyambure, or convict to Janyambure. From URR, they will sentence or remind prisoners to Janyambure. Here, of Mile 2 prisons, you get from West Coast, all will remind. From Kalaji, they will remind to Mile 2 prisons. So how can we decongest the place? How can we classify them if these structures are not in place? Look at the fuel, look at the cost to take prisoner from Janyambure to LRR, Masakonko, High Court. If the prisoner, even we have breakdown, the court will not listen to us. They say there is no excuse. I will tell you these stories. There was a time we have an old truck. I need to take prisoners to Janyambure to Base High Court. You know Helakunda, the hill, the truck cannot even climb on top of it. It's go and then revise. And there was one prisoner there who is mentally imbalanced. We took another route just to reach at Base High Court. When we reached there, this prisoner was a mental imbalance. But what he told the judge is, I have a problem. Help prison, they don't have vehicle. We nearly have an accident on it. Just imagine. So basically, I recommend less people come. Let us not see the small salary we are having. As I said before, our right hand is longer than our left hand, begging for lift. So we sacrifice to be there up to this time. My personally, if it is not this mission to Darfur, I will not build that house I'm living. By now, I'll be starting struggling. So these are committed things that warrant our officers to engage on certain trafficking. To minimize that or to stop that, they have to look at our welfare. You see my own residence. Though you say it's not on your mandate, I heard when you went to Mile 2. But I mean, it's not your mandate, fine. But at least try to see us too, and then you put it on your recommendation. It's very important too. Mandate, I know you have a mandate to do, but you can add some pepper soup there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Witness, do you have any other recommendations you'd like to make on how to increase, how to make the prison more humane? Because you mentioned, it's not habitable for human beings, even animals. So how can we make the prison more humane?
That's what I want. Look at the structure. It's older than, I don't know, since colonial days. And you go again, I have forgot to mention one thing, Prison Act, which is older than since colonial days. Nobody talk about it to amend it. This act is old. It's there. We are working on that. People will see us, we are wicked. How can we keep somebody and say every 90 days he should have access to his family? And we have seen our National Assembly members will do sitting. They never talk about prisons. To me, I observe them. They never talk about prison. Some homosexual things are there. To stop that, they can even create a conjugal vision. We have to build a modern prisons to change that place. Mile 2 itself is located in a swampy area where you have a lot of mosquitoes. malaria and other communicable diseases. Look, if you look at the remand setup, if one has like tuberculosis, 2 or 3 infected, it's going to be a disaster. Even officers are infected with tuberculosis. Currently, some are under treatment. Because if you open the cell, like remind, the odor you are receiving and the scent, you inhale it, you are vulnerable of anything. And we don't have any health allowances. No way. If you don't mind, I can show you my payslip. So we are trying, but let's try to build a structure, a modern one. We condemn mile 2.
I have one more question for you. You mentioned the counseling services that you rendered to the detainees at the time, and many of them as well mentioned you in their testimonies. They appreciated what you did, how you spoke to them. Can you please tell us what motivated you? Because I believe this was beyond duty. So you went beyond, what you were required to do as a prison medic or as a prison officer. What motivated you to take the risks that you did? Because you were also at risk when you made all of these attempts. Can you tell us what motivated you?
Yes, I know I'm a human being, and these people are human beings. No matter how the condition is. What's happened to them can happen to me. Or if, in fact, it can happen to even my son, or friends, or colleagues. So for humanity, I have to take that risk. Because at that time, they are helpless. And they need assistance. They need somebody to assist them. They have no access to their family, no access to their friends, no communication. With that situation, how do you feel? Even you don't torture them physically, mentally you torture them. Because the stress itself can lead them to something, can lead you to commit suicide or anything. So I did it from the bottom of my heart, and to take a risk and see that they are, at least I care them on him. Even that GV pain cannot do anything, but let me apply it gently on them. That's how I was trained from home up to today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Witness. Mr. Chairman, that's the end of the witness's testimony.
Thank you very much, Chairman Council, and thank you, Commissioner Jatta, for those very important suggestions you made. I hope they would inform our recommendations when we come to formulate those on institutional reforms in particular. We hope and see. But thank you so much for your testimony. And then if any commissioners have questions to ask. Yes, Bishop, you have the floor, please.
Commissioner James Odiko, Mr. Babukar Jatta, in the prison being overcrowded, and also you inform us that homosexuality take place in the prison. That is heartbreaking to know that such unshameful activity do happen in the prison. I just wonder, with the overcrowdedness of the prison, how is it possible for prison inmates to involve themselves in such a very low activity among themselves?
As I said, prisoners have a subculture. If you enter there, they know how to hide prohibited articles to officers, and then this is among themselves. If you look at the section, you are right to say that, like if you look at the cells. But remember, these are human beings, and they think more than us. So it's a consensus one. They build friendship among themselves. Like you can get a visitor who is giving you all these things, how to call it, bath towel, toothpaste, and the like. So they too will have a friend who will they will share with them, give them everything, even their basins, their ration, they can exchange. So during night activities, they have time of doing that, because they have some corner, they have toilets and bathrooms inside. So that's where some of these activities took place.
Thank you. Commissioner Jones.
Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Jatta, did you have a journal or logbook for your patients where you recorded the progress they were making or not?
Yes, I was having those records, but when I need this record, I cannot find anything there because I had an operation on that office. In 2001, I was moved to Janjambure. Then I was in 2001, I was moved to Janjambure. Then I was the rank of sergeant at that time. Based on why they transfer me, I can call it, they say, normal transfer. Later I know that it was not normal, it's abnormal. So later, I came back 2003, from 2001 to 2003. I was there up to 2013. I was posted at Janjambure again. So within that period, when they called me about this TRRC, I was looking those records, but nowhere to be found. Because I can remember my colleagues that I work with, none of them are alive today.
Just an addition.
Yes, please.
Sorry, just an additional question. Based on your observations, when you were doing your daily rounds, did you at any point make any recommendations for any of the prisoners, and for instance, for external attention, and were any of those recommendations ever honored?
No, as I said, at that time, I was not a senior officer to that extent. I have a limitation. I have an immediate supervisor whom I report to, which is a civilian. So that is between me and my senior commands.
Thank you. Commissioner Imam C.
Commissioner Imam C. I want
to ask about those that died in the prisons and those that died during the coup d'etat. How did the military deal with their families? Did they call them to talk to them about those deaths? Or did they simply not say anything? Second question is, while you were treating them, those injuries, did you come to the conclusion that they were caused as a result of a knife or other instruments being used to cause those wounds?
If I can remember, the first question is when an inmate died, like those under detention, how are we taken care of? As I said, that time I was a young officer, and the only detainee prisoner I can remember who died, that was Yaya Drame. As I mentioned earlier, the body was taken to mortuary. That's why I stopped. I don't go further. The second question is about, who can remind me?
Sen gañu gañu bi nak seetlu nga ci li paaka la wala li
Those that you were treating, did you conclude that the injuries were as a result of a gun, knife, or other instruments being used to cause the injuries?
Okay, I cannot confirm that because they never torture anybody in my presence. I only saw them with they sustained injuries that I handled.
Thank you, Commissioner Carr, and then Commissioner Imam Jallo.
Commissioner Carr, I want to know, do you know the average age of the prisoner? The average age in the prison?
The average age in the prison, because we have juvenile, we have adult.
All of them combined, do you know the average age?
Average age, these are 18 years above. We receive them. Juvenile, we have less than 18 years, which are at Joshua prison camp.
Thank you. Commissioner Jallo.
Mr. Commissioner, Imam Usainu Jallo, Commissioner. You have served now for a long time in the Prisons Department. Did you ever have the opportunity to discuss with other senior officers of the prisons with the view to making recommendations about the conditions of the prisons and the prisoners to government or to any other authority? Thank you.
Yes, when we have a senior officer meeting, I do raise this point. We raise this point there that we need to do something. Especially I can remember when I returned from Nigeria, we recommend them about this reformation, rehabilitation, and reintegration, and stress on about the classification of prisoners, which is very important in prison management and techniques. If we have a proper classification there, we know our job will be easy. But right now, it's very difficult, because they are together.
Thank you very much. If there are no further questions, Council, are we ready for the second witness now? We have about 35-40 minutes left before our break. What's the suggestion from the legal team?
Mr. Chairman, I suggest that we take an early lunch and we come back 30 minutes before the usual resumption break. That is to say, we go for lunch at 1 o'clock and we come back at 2. By then, we believe the witness would have been here and that we would be able to start. As we speak, we're still contacting him, trying to contact him. He hasn't responded. He has not yet returned to our calls. We hope that he will keep the appointment and will show up. We would still, during this lunch break, try to reach him again and see whether he would make it. We are hopeful that he would. I would keep you informed of developments before the end of the lunch break. In the meantime, with regards to the prisons, I just wish to remind that as part of our plans, we plan to hold an institutional hearing on the prison. So some of the other questions you may have in your mind, perhaps those questions would be addressed at the time when we hold that kind of hearing. And some of the issues also raised by the witness would be dealt with at that particular point of time. So with regards to what happens next, I suggest we take a lunch break now while we make final arrangements for the witness to come. Thank you.
Instead of a 1 hour break, would 1 hour, 20 minutes be all right for those who would want to do the first afternoon prayer?
That is perfect.
So we come back at 2:20 instead of 2 o'clock. Is that all right?
That is fine by us.
Splendid. Yeah. Thank you very much. Meeting is adjourned. We come back at 2:20.